What's up, guys? We got another tier list video for all of you today. And this time I thought we would do something Marvel Rivals related because there's been a lot of hype around the game. I've been playing it myself, I've been really enjoying it. And I thought, it could be a pretty appropriate time to push one of these out. And so for the topic of the video, I thought, why not give the characters ratings on a tier list? But this isn't going to be like a competitive tier list. I have not played the game enough to know that. But rather, this is going to be like a, I guess, lore-based strength tier list using the characters. And to be clear, I'm not going to be using, I guess, specific versions of the characters from the game because we have like, I guess, like a little bit of. We're kind of in the dark largely about exactly what each of these characters is lore wise and like where they come from and exactly how strong they should be according to their lore, right? Maybe you can even just assume that they're all relative to each other because they're capable of fighting, I guess, according to the lore, right? But basically, when we analyze these characters, I'm gonna be talking about their comic book feats, their general, I guess, composite forms, probably for this for the context. So I'll basically be kind of pooling together their feats of their base forms. So like Iron Man will be in his base Mark 42 armor, not some sort of like not his extremis armor or his God Killer armor or whatever makes him the strongest. So with that out of the way, let's just get started. S is going to be strongest, D is going to be weakest, and I reserve the right to move characters around as I go because I do think that will probably require a little bit of balancing to get this tier list looking, well, tier listy. So first off, we'll start with, let's just go in random order here to keep it exciting. Moon Knight is going to be a street level character, of course. Unless he has like the fully, I guess, utilized powers of Khonshu, but we're already talking about Moon Knight here. I'll probably leave him at C for now. We'll see if there's enough characters below him to fill a tier lower, or maybe 2 tiers lower. So we'll leave him at C for now. And we'll go Black Widow. This is one where I think she's probably comfortably below Moon Knight. I don't think that there's much of an argument for this. I think that Moon Knight should be like easily cleaning her in a fight. Should just be physically stronger as well, and has also just shown aptitude fighting characters who are much stronger than the characters that Black Widow can lane up against. That being said, Black Widow is of course a very skilled fighter, not to disparage her, right? But just probably a tier lower. Now let's go with Iron Man. Now with Iron Man, it kind of does depend on his suit, but again, we're going to talk Mark 42, so standard suit. And this suit does allow him to go toe to toe and to keep up with some pretty strong characters, even the likes of like some weaker forms of Thor, right? So for now, I'm gonna put him in B tier. May bump him up to an A depending on how the list forms. We will see. Star Lord is gonna be again physically probably not on the level of Moon Knight. It's a little weird, right? Just because he's below Moon Knight doesn't necessarily mean he would be winning or he would lose a fight to Moon Knight hard. I think he probably would, but like, the problem is he has like the weapons, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking about, I guess, like a power tier list, as opposed to, actually that's silly. Let's say like even like a fight tier list. So maybe he'll be a tier above, probably put him around Moon Knight level. No reason to put him below, but I think he'd be towards the right end of this tier, if that makes sense. Cloak and Dagger. Now this one's a little weird because their powers are very, like well defined, but we don't see too much of them. But that being said, they are just street level characters. Definitely not even like on Spider-Man's level, despite having, in my opinion, like seemingly cooler and stronger powers, right? But no, these guys are kind of fodder, but they do have superpowers, which puts them above Black Widow. I guess technically, no, I don't feel comfortable putting them up there, to be honest. Even though they have powers, they feel like very weak, at least in the comics I've seen, which admittedly haven't been much. Maybe we'll see more Cloak and Dagger stuff coming out in the future, but for now, we will leave them at D tier. Namor is probably going to be up in B tier around with Iron Man, and this is kind of making me think maybe I should bump Iron Man up, but I think these two can comfortably be in the same tier with the Mark 42 armor. Namor is kind of like a whatever character, probably capping out around like, I guess like city like block level, multi-city block level. Let's go with Hela. Hela is gonna be probably an S tier, but for now I'm gonna leave her an A tier because I think that there's characters that we could probably put a little above her, but she's very strong, very comparable to most forms of Thor, pretty hard to kill. Because she is, I guess, an aspect of death herself. So for now we'll leave her at an A tier. Groot is going to be physically stronger than most of these guys. Probably put him around Namor, a little lower than Namor. Might be a bit of variance in this tier, but I think that this is a fair placement. Iron Fist is going to be another street level character towards the high end of D tier, maybe low end of C. I mean, if you get punched by Iron Fist, it's going to cause a pretty big problem for you. But yeah, we'll probably put him in C tier. Now we have Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme. Probably put him around Hela's level. Depends on the form of Doctor Strange and what he has access to. Sometimes he'll be S tier, sometimes he'll be B tier. But I think comfortably I can put him in A tier and have that feel pretty fair for him. Captain America should be on the high end of C. Pretty much as good as a street level character can get. Do still feel comfortable with putting him a tier below Mark 42 Iron Man, though. And below Namor in terms of physicality. Although I would imagine in a fight, good chance Captain America is giving Namor a pretty good run for his money, but I think Namor is probably consistently higher, which pains me to say because I hate Namor. Hate this character so much. Not in the game. I mean, just like in the comics, I think he's got a terrible, detestable personality and horrible gimmick. Whenever he shows up, I just like roll my eyes. He's kind of the reason why I don't like Fantastic Four comics. But that's neither here nor there. We'll move on. Luna Snow, this is a character I had to book up on for this, but really not like a crazy strong fighter, at least according to what I read. She does have superpowers, but at the same time, she's not like a particularly skilled fighter or anything, maybe even below Black Widow. Magic is probably, I mean, not going to be the strongest X-Men, obviously, because we have some pretty ridiculous X-Men in general, but she's among the strongest X-Men. I'd feel comfortable putting her A tier. She's actually beaten Doctor Strange before in a fight, which is pretty nuts. She was a candidate for Sorcerer Supreme, although I don't think I think she became Sorcerer Supreme at some point. So I'll probably put her above Doctor Strange, but they're probably interchangeable. Jeff is, I think, from what I can, I guess, discern, basically just like a pet dog, but he looks like a shark. I mean, he is a shark, but he is functionally a pet dog. So he's probably going to be a D tier. Magneto is, again, like among the stronger X-Men, but maybe not even on the same tier as Magic. I don't think. I would say that Magneto probably, like, he's able to affect, I guess, the whole planet with his magnetic powers, but for him, that's like really pushing himself to the limit. So I'll probably put him high into B tier. Obviously, smoking Iron Man in a fight, but that's not exactly a fair matchup. Punisher is going to be, I guess, like physically he's probably stronger than Black Widow. I don't even know if in a fist fight he's beating Black Widow, but he's pretty good with his guns. Obviously, we have some pretty impressive feats of him when he's using his guns. I guess he's able to fight characters who are significantly stronger than him. But that being said, I can't imagine him beating any of these characters that are above him without like significant prep time. Rocket Raccoon, probably around the same boat. Let's see. Squirrel Girl, people are probably going to be a little contentive about Squirrel Girl's placement here because for a large part of her run, she feels like a gag character who can kind of beat whoever. But generally, I'm going to put her in C tier. And now we got like a nice pyramid structure, so I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest. Let us continue. So let's go with this guy. Hawkeye is going to be Black Widow tier. Mantis is going to be probably even lower than Black Widow, to be honest. In terms of her fighting ability, she's not really up there. Maybe around Jeff. To be honest, I don't actually know if Mantis is beating the average household dog in a fight. So probably going to put her at D tier. Psylocke is probably capping out around mountain level in terms of like her pure AP with her psionic abilities. I'll probably put her in the high end of C tier. Storm, among the stronger X-Men as well, probably not quite stepping up to Magic, and I don't think she's quite up in this tier, but she's probably in the high end of B, around like Magneto's level. Loki depends slightly, I think, on which version of Loki we're using, right? I think that like a composite base Loki could probably be an A tier character. God of Stories Loki is obviously going to be an S tier, but I think that is a amped up version of the character. So we're going to put them with Hela in A tier, I believe. It's probably about fair. Not really much of a fighter in general, so not easy to place in terms of fighting ability, but obviously he is like pretty strong, right? Penny Parker is going to be another one of the, I guess, more boring characters to talk about. I do think I saved some of the heat for last, so I'm excited to talk about most of these characters that are left. But Penny Parker has a suit, I guess, is pretty cool. Probably going to be somewhere around the middle of C tier. Adam Warlock, it can be a little contentious, but I would actually say Adam Warlock is probably a tier above Hela and the rest. Pretty ridiculous character, especially when he has access to the Soul Stone, which he does in the game. hard guy to kill, has the ability to manipulate souls, and even beyond that, he's like just a physical threat. He's capable of knocking out Silver Surfer. He's capable of fighting Thanos pretty easily or pretty well. He's just kind of a tier above at least everybody else that we've seen thus far. Winter Soldier, probably going to be around the Captain America level, a little lower. Scarlet Witch depends on the version of the character, but like fully realized and with her like I guess insanity or whatever buff, she could go in S tier, probably even higher than Adam Warlock. Now I'm thinking about it. If you're using a more moderate version of her, then I guess you would probably be putting her in B tier. But like, she's a really hard character to place because of how much she varies, right? It's like if I was trying to place Jean Grey, I wouldn't really know how fair it is because like on one hand like she always has that potential. It's not like she has to get stat buffs in order to get to that level, but she isn't always at that showing depending on her sanity. So to be fair, I think we'll put her in S tier. It also keeps the pyramid structure looking a little nicer, so disagree with that if you will. I'm gonna stand by it. Wolverine, probably going to be towards the high end of C tier, around Captain America level. I think it's a pretty good matchup. Venom is also going to be C tier, maybe coming up on B tier. Yeah, no, we're going to keep him in C tier, and we'll put Spider-Man right next to him as well. Again, pretty much as high as you can get in the street tier without going, well, above street tier, right? Black Panther is also in the same boat, so it looks like C is kind of stacked. And now Hulk and Thor are going to be the two that I just want to make sure I address this. Does depend on the versions of the characters, right? Hulk, I think you could pretty consistently be putting in A tier, maybe B tier. But if you're using like a more if you're using like a more modern version of Hulk, like we've been getting in the recent comics, he is easily an S tier, probably the strongest character in the game, lore wise. Fighting like entities of death, counterparts of the one above all. He's just like in a ridiculous place right now. And I think that for the most part, I'll leave him up there as well. Because again, it's not like he got any sort of specific like stat buff outside of just him, I guess, like fully realizing his powers, right? So I think it's fair to put him in S tier. I don't think most people are going to disagree with me putting Hulk in a S tier for most power tier lists anyway. Thor is going to be the same boat. Really depends on the version. Like sometimes you'll put him like around Hela or below. Sometimes you can even say like even in base form he's fighting the likes of Adam Warlock, but generally if we're using like modern Thor, like in the Immortal Thor run, he does have access to the Thor Force, which again isn't like an outside augment. It's not like the Odin Force. It is something that is like intrinsic to his character. So I think that Immortal Thor versus like fully powered up Hulk is a very contentious debate, and I will not touch that. So I will leave them both up here, and I guess leave that dubious, but I can't put them on top of each other. So that's all we got for this video. A short one, but it's fun, and I'm looking forward to playing more Marvel Rivals. Excuse me. If you guys are a fan of Marvel Rivals or the content of this channel or anything like that, please hit subscribe. Can push out more content like this in the future, and please check out our Discord where you can come hang out. Maybe even we can play some Marvel Rivals games together. Looking for some more people to join my stack. It'd be a good time. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a good day. Peace.